Oh, it would. I think it would help if I had the microphone plugged in. Ah, God. Start. Sorry about that. Hey, thank you very much, AJ. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for bearing with the scuff. Yes, if you didn't realize already, it's my birthday. It's not today, but fuck it. I'm taking the whole week, maybe a little bit afterwards, because I'm allowed to. Yeah, how are we today? Make sure I'm on the right Twitter. A little sleepy? Yeah, oh, I feel that. I ended up going to bed a little late last night, and then woke up, fell back asleep, woke back up again. And I've been on 2-hour-long bus trips today. Cause oh well. I'm just grateful that there's a hospital at least an hour away with a bus that goes there. Sorry, I'm scrolling Twitter at this point. I shouldn't be doing that. This is all very private. And I shouldn't be advertising anyone else's things. So, what are we doing today? Yeah. Glad you survived. Me too. There's a bit touch and go there for a second, because I was getting to near where I was getting off, and I was in and out of sleep. I was drifting so hard. Yeah. So I don't do long bus trips, or God, when I was going to work, and I had to. Because there was like train strikes and rails were shut down, like everything was not going right, so I had to catch a bus into work. But from where I am to where I was working, it's like an hour and a half away. And to get on a bus, to then have to get off and get on another bus in morning traffic as well. It was stop, start, stop, start. That is, it's not the driving, it's the rocking back and forth, having to stop every five seconds was just doing me in. And I'd get to work and I'd be so tired. Oh, it'd be horrible. And I wondered why I didn't get much work done in those 2 weeks. Oh well. I'm not there anymore, thank God. The bus trips alone were not doing me any good. No, it was my leave for such an intensive job like that. Like it was a nice place to work. Really nice people there. They're doing some really kick-ass stuff where they are. But me getting there was just a nightmare. Like even on the best of days, like was a nightmare, and oh God. So, what are we doing today? Does anyone know? A little quiet. Oh, might be because I'm not speaking directly into it. Give me 1 second. It's because it's turned away from me. Why is it turned away from me? Is that better? Oh god, that's way better. Also gonna turn the music down. I know. Face me when I'm talking to you. Must be neurodivergent. I've just trouble with eye contact. Yes, you're right. Spider-Man D&D stuff. Yes, we... I'm autistic. I'm allowed to make that joke. Oh. So yeah, we're going to be making Spooderman. Let's say making. I suppose I just want to go over some ideas of how you could make your own spider person. In D&D, I have a list. If I just reconnect that, there we go. So I have a list of things. And my phone's going off. To look at things to consider, then considerations and ideas. How to be the Spooderman in Dungeons & Dragons. Contrary to what you might believe, it's actually very difficult to do. Yes, light mode notion. Shut up. Right, okay, right. You know what, before we go any further, let's address this. Alright, how does one dark mode? How does one dark mode? So I have it on dark mode on my... laptop. Right, problem is I don't have... It's my monitor's resolution. I can't actually see the whole thing. Let's see. Oh. So I remember having it in dark mode. There we go. Oh, okay. You know what, actually, I think you're right. That's actually much better for me. I'm not sure about the viewing experience, but I mean, that's way better for me. And if you are playing in my campaign, you did just see a couple of my notes. And how fucking disorganized. I say disorganized. Yeah. Well, if it's better for the viewing experience, then I'll just leave it as is. But yeah. So yeah, so these are just some ideas. Thank you, AJ. Some ideas, some like... Yeah, yeah, ideas, considerations for the mechanics of D&D and what you can put on a character. And if anyone's got any ideas over the course of, then we'll have a look at those too. And I'm going to go kind of in order. I might also bounce to like the DMG for like mechanics and stuff. Likely not though, because a lot of... What the hell? I don't want one. I don't know. No lyrics. No lyrics. I'm the one who's talking. Oh god, yeah, no. Yeah, let me just smack the radio out. Get some percussive maintenance on it. The important one has to be speech. Best kind. Anyway, yeah. So we're gonna go down the list. Yeah, sorry, brain went then. Yeah. So we're gonna look at a couple things. Firstly, what I believe the stat focus should be for any spider person. But again, it's all subjective. Take it or leave it. This is just ideas. Like this game is, it's all subjective, and it's what you get out of it, as opposed to like hard and fast. It needs to be this way because the people are like that are just assholes. Don't play this wonderful game like a rectum, and and everyone will be fine. Agreed? Yeah. Most people tend to. Yeah, so look at the stat focus, what I think, stats should be in. Then we're going to go in order of race, class, spells, if class has applicable spells, any feats to pick up along the way, any magic items that might aid as well if you're at a point where you can either buy the magic item or you're starting at a higher level and you can pick whatever you want. We're not going to go over, like, how much things are, or you know, a lot of this is going to be based on, like, your GM might give you these things. It's all official stuff as well. There's no homebrew here. Because I don't know your DM, I don't know if they're going to allow homebrew or not. I mean, obviously, AJ, I'm your DM, and you know what I allow, so... There's some Spider-Man-y things that I might allow that I might look at later. But I might do Pokemon later though, so I don't know yet. Yeah, but this is for other people that might be watching, because I have the view count hidden right now. I don't know who's watching. Could be anyone. Again, I can always check on my phone. Yeah, not that many people, but that's fine. I'm so sorry. We can make it work, though. Yeah, and in terms of, like, mechanics, I think they'll come up as and when. Things like, movement, jumping, and flavour as well, because a lot of this is going to be flavour. It is still early as well, but, I like to get the explanations going as well, so that if people are watching on the VOD, you'll have a good idea as to what's going on. Yeah, so I think without further ado, we'll jump straight in with stat focus. So, what do we want our stat focus to be? Well, I'm actually gonna... Yeah, you guys can see my cursor, I think. Maybe not, doesn't matter. So, I put my... Where can I put my notes to? I think over there. Notes can go there. There we are. So, first, thank you, AJ. First thing I think is important is Spider-Man is very agile. That's a like for most Spider people. There's some that aren't, But for most spider people, physical agility, being able to jump around and ballerina in the air is quite a staple and actually quite important. So, as we see here, dexterity is, physical agility, reflexes, balance, and poise, which Spider-Man has in spades. Any spider person worth their salt. Actually, no, I say most. There are some that don't. And if you feel like your spider person isn't very agile, maybe they're extremely uncoordinated, have no balance whatsoever. Hey, that makes it more interesting. So how does the spider come through in that regard? But yeah, dexterity I think is up there. Also makes you harder to hit. Ties into your armor class a lot of the time, unless you're wearing like heavy armor, in which case it doesn't. But it can impact like how hard you want to hit. And Spider-Man is notoriously difficult to pin down. So I would say that. Next is wisdom. As we can see here, it measures awareness and intuition and insight. Spider-Man's not bad at reading people, but he has great awareness. Most spider people have a spider sense, and if they don't, like Miguel O'Hara, for example, spoilers for a lot of the Spider-Man movies, especially across the Spider-Verse at this point. I should warn, big spoilers. There's the first scene where you meet Miguel O'Hara when he's helping out Gwen. Notice he gets completely blindsided at some point. Actually, you know what? No, AJ, you've not seen it yet. I tell you what then, I'm going to keep spoilers to a minimum then. I'm going to not try and say a whole lot. But there is a point where Miguel O'Hara gets completely blindsided when he's helping out Gwen. That's because he doesn't have spider sense. But he does have what's called accelerated vision, which means he can see in 360 degrees around him. Oh, bless AJ, I'm sorry. I'll try and be nice about it. Yeah, it means he can see in 360 degrees around him. He can see like up to a mile away, and he can see in slow motion. If you play Shattered Dimensions, Madam Web gives him spider sense, and in that regard, there's a number of dialogue scenes where he's like, "This is really weird. I'm not used to this at all." Yeah. But that still plays into wisdom. It just, in terms of D&D, it might function slightly differently. But, like, maybe he has, like, a different feat, or he has, like, something else that sort of separates it out. In the comics, obviously, the ability functions similarly enough, but it's not a danger sense. It's, yeah. But no, being aware of your surroundings and wisdom is a big of that. I'd say is up there, definitely. Next up, charisma. Now, again, not a must for a lot of Spidey people. I would say Miles doesn't have much charisma. Of course, he's still trying to figure himself out. He's still a bit awkward. But Peter has a bit of confidence in him. Gwen, I'd say, has the highest charisma out of most Spider people. Like, she's definitely up there. And because, this is also, like... This I see a confidence, eloquence, and leadership, but it can also pertain to wittiness. Being very, very quick-witted and being able to put people off very naturally. But it can also be putting people at ease, like Spider-Man, Peter especially, and Miles as well, actually, to an extent. Very good at, like, talking to people, trying to reason stuff out, They always try and talk it out first before they throw fists. And they try and always, like, reassure people, like, the people they're saving, everything's going to be fine, we're going to be alright, we're just going to do this, we're going to do that. One thing I do want to note is the confidence in that aspect. As a roleplay thing, you might want to think about is, what kind of confidence comes through when? With Peter, like, Peter's not very... If you look at him, like, as he is in high school, he's a shy, nerdy kid. But when he's Spider-Man, he's automatically, he's hopping around, he's quipping, he's being very witty and very forward and very and very confident. He's very sure of himself. So if you do have a high charisma, and you want to play that dual identity thing, how does it show and when? It sort of fades as time goes on. Like, you look at the more adult Peter Parkers, and the only thing that really changes is his energy. Like, you look at Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in No Way Home. They don't have the mask on. The energy's very calm, very they're just guys. They put the masks on and they start jumping around. You can hear them hootering and hollering, and they are having a blast. And they're quipping and everything's like, so there's still an amount of being forward, but the lines are fading. The confidence is still coming through, but it's coming through in a different way. So, again, sort of think about that, and sorry, you look at the comics as well. Peter, he becomes a CEO at one point. He becomes a teacher, And even in the Insomniac games, Spider-Man and Peter Parker, the way they present to people it's not all that different, but it's different enough, and that also requires charisma, especially in D&D. If you're flitting between secret identities, like, how does each one present from the core personality of a very nerdy guy who's got a really corny sense of humor? How does it present? Like, I like what they did in the Insomniac games, where as Peter Parker and a Spider-Man, he's making really bad dad jokes, but one is in a sort of moments of duress, or like he's fighting a villain and he's trying to put them off, and he's also trying to like calm himself down, because if he's laughing, then he's not as tense, he's not as anxious, and he can get the job done better, because you move more fluidly if you're relaxed. As Peter, he does it almost out of reflex, but also like it's kind of his way of showing affection. So he does it with Mary Jane, and Mary Jane's like, oh, come on, really? But she loves it. He does it to Miles, and Miles doesn't get it half the time, but he still does it. And it is sort of there's a dual purpose to it. So yeah, if you're thinking about like doing the dual identity thing, if you're like a changeling, or or you're playing a superhero with a dual identity, something to keep, which of the personas when you're playing at any one time, how similar are they? How different are they? How can you sort of play that up in a way that's not annoying? Because some people will be really annoying about it. Next to consider, if you're playing Spider-Man, Constitution. Notably, it says here health, stamina, vital force. It's always a really good idea to not have a negative in Constitution. And if you do, you are brave. But it should be, noted that, like, Spider-Man, out of sheer force of will, just keeps going. So I think he'd have a decent, like, you might have, a spider person would have a decent constitution, I think. At least like a +1 or a +2. Just so they're not, like, in the single-digit hit points at any given level. They can take the hits, they can, they can maintain concentration on spells as well, because some of the, if you're relying on spells, I would put Constitution a bit higher up. If you want to focus on some of the spells that are giving you your powers. And Spider-Man can take a bit of a beating. He's not a lightweight. And jumping around a whole lot, like he does, you'd need a lot of stamina for that, and Constitution requires stamina. Well, I think brings me also to a point when translating characters like this into something like a role-playing game, where your character can't be perfect. Like, the game is designed where if you have pluses in every stat, you're going to be the most broken person, and it's not going to be much fun. If you want to play the power fantasy, then go for it, but, like, it might not be much fun for other people at the table. And if you're going for rules as written, like standard array or point buy, not rolling for stats, you have to have a negative in something, or you have to be really average at, like, 2 things. At the very least, you can't be really good at everything. And Spider-Man is kind of good at everything. Like, he's got super strength. He's very smart. He's very fast. He's very, and in that, then what do you drop? Now, let's have the book on me. Let's have a look. In, like, the Marvel multiverse games, like the Marvel role-playing games, they tend to put, like, because there are other ways of him having a spider sense, like a physical spider sensibility, heightened senses, things like that. They tend to put his wisdom down. Because although he's not bad at intuition, he can be a bit of a klutz sometimes. He's not very lucky. So they tend to put his wisdom, or they put his intelligence down, because, like, he's a smart guy, but there are smarter people, and they've got to put a range on that. So when you're building your spider person, I'd say consider what their weakness is. If they're not very smart, great. Play that up. Maybe their spider sense doesn't work quite in the same way as Peter's or Miles or Gwen's. Maybe it is accelerated vision, or maybe it's a magical awareness. Like, you have a spider sense for magical stuff. Maybe you can cast detect magic at will, or maybe it's a class feature that gives you that. There's all things to consider, but, like, this is just my order of how I would do things. Even then, it might not be how I do things always. Next to consider is intelligence. You can have, like, a 10, like a flat intelligence, like a +0 intelligence, and still actually be quite smart and quite knowledgeable in a lot of things through, like, skill proficiencies. So don't if you're playing a 10 intelligence character, you're not stupid, you're averagely intelligent, but you might have specific niches. Like, Peter has a specific niche for science, specifically, like, chemical science, like the technological sciences, and photography. So his things would be a tool proficiency and arcana. Maybe nature as well. Someone like Gwen Stacy, maybe they're not as intelligent. You know, she's not a. I don't think she's a much of a science student on the earth she comes from. She's an artist. You know, she's a musician. She does well at school, but like, so her main thing would be charisma. Someone like Peter Parker, Miles, Miguel, they'd have high intelligence. Because that's kind of their thing. Or at least like a moderate intelligence, because that's their thing. But Spider-Person doesn't have to be super smart. Yeah, you can be averagely intelligent. And still function. You know, and still be of use. You know, still contribute conversationally and like, you know, skill proficiencies. Always a thing. And last, but certainly not least, strength. Now, it does say natural athleticism and bodily power. Honestly, it's not super important. Mostly because in D&D, you're not going to be lifting things a lot of the time, or if you are, you're a fighter, you're a paladin, you're a barbarian, you are strength focused. Peter only lifts things a couple of times, really, and it's like it's plot relevance. Everything else is like holding someone on a web line or things like that. So you can have it low, you can have it dumped, you can have it made like a flat number. Because you can always have like a proficiency in strength saving throws if you are worried about getting knocked around. You can have proficiency in athletics if you're worried about breaking grapple or like holding and pulling things. You can have like expertise in athletics and still be able to move people around or hold yourself to the ground. Like that's it's still possible. It's not going to be as high as the barbarians. Like, you're not going to have Spider-Man is not as strong as the Hulk. That's fine. But if you note, Spider-Man does get thrown around a lot because he moves around a lot. So you can always play that off as why your strength is so low. Could be, oh, I'm, you know, yeah, I can stick to walls, but if I'm not grounded to something, I can be flung around quite easily. Or I can't, because of my frame, I can't lift a lot, but I can move. You know, I have great explosive force of strength, but like nothing sustainable. You can always argue that. So those are the stats I would like in that order. Would be Dex, Wiz, Charisma, Con, Int, Strength. But again, if you wanna change it up for your Spider-Person, maybe focus on one thing over the other, that's entirely fine. Honestly, those last 3 or 4 can be moved around in any order. Not really any of them, but that's what I would pick. Let's see, what have I got next? So next, we're going to look at races. It's arguably, say, lineages, races, species, however you want to put it forward. These are what I would recommend. We're going to start with, I think, the most obvious one. And it's not in the player's handbook. It's not in... At least I don't think it is. Modern Canaans. No, it's not in Modern Canaans, which is fine. God, my laptop is burning up. It's not in Dragonlance. By the way, I don't like the Kenda. They're all annoying. It's not in Spelljammer. It's not in Strixhaven. It's in Van Hoechten's Guide to Ravenloft. And they're under lineages because you can be any race and also have a lineage. As you can see here, it's like a physical... Yeah, some racial traits might remain after getting lineage possibly captured in the Ancestral Legacy trait. Keep that in mind when you explore the details. Yeah, if you choose a lineage, you might have once been, but are no longer. If you're like just starting out straight from character creation, then it's fine. The one we're looking at here is a Dhampir. For a few reasons. Now, in lore, they are half vampires. Technically speaking. They're like vampires, kind of. And they don't always drink blood. They sometimes eat raw meat, cerebral spinal fluid, psychic energies, dreams, and life energy. So think your Venoms, yeah? Venom will just eat anything. So you could, like, if you wanted to play Venom, which this counts for that as well. Not the movie version, but like the regular version of Venom. Like, yeah, keep that in mind. Here we are. See, parasite lives inside of you. There we are. There's your explanation. So with this, you are technically you're a humanoid, so you don't have to worry about being undead. Anything that turns undead, you're fine. Because in this iteration, you're not undead. You're a spider person. That bite, the thing that bit you, it ain't a vampire. It's a spider, and from a spider bite, you are reborn as a Dhampir. You are medium or small, and you choose the size. So size dictates like. If you can be grappled by something or not, movement speed, how far you can fit into a space, if you can hide behind other creatures or not. Ancestral Legacy. Now, if you like get this lineage like mid-game, you would keep any skill proficiencies that you got, or any flying speed. So say you were an Aarakocra and you got bitten and you turned into a Dhampir, you keep your flying speed. Like, that wouldn't be an issue, but you'd lose everything else. If you're making this from scratch, or you don't keep any of these elements, you gain 2 skills. Nice, awesome. These can reflect skills you gained when you got bitten. Like, it could be athletics and acrobatics. It could be perception and stealth, you know? There's dark vision, great, cool. Dark vision is always kind of useful. The don't need to breathe thing you can ignore if you really want. This is the thing you'd want it for. Is spider climb. This right here. So, you have a climbing speed equal to your walking speed. That means you can move up vertical surfaces. In addition, when you reach 3rd level, my apologies, you can move up, down, across vertical surfaces, upside down on ceilings while leaving your hands free. So you can climb like a spider could. Now, this doesn't guarantee that you stick to the wall permanently. You'd have to arrange that with your GM. But at the very least, you have the maneuverability of a spider person. You know, you can be on any surface, providing it's a solid. Which I think is a fundamental thing of a spider person, is being able to climb walls in any regard. However you go about it. The next thing you might want to be looking at is the other thing you get from... I don't like this song. The vocalizations are going to get on my nerves. There we go. That was going to get on my nerves. The other thing you get is something called Vampiric Bite. If you're looking at your Venoms, maybe Carnage, again, like Miguel O'Hara or any of the like Man Spider, slightly more horror themed spider people, this is great. If you don't want the spider bite, you're like, I would rename that Spider Bite, but you can just not use it if you want. Again, a lot of these things are optional. Your Fanged Bite is a natural weapon, which counts as a simple melee weapon you are proficient. Add your Constitution instead of Strength. The attack and damage also when you hit. Technically speaking, that means it's a monk weapon. We'll get on to that later. But if it's a monk weapon, that means the damage dice goes up. And you can use your dexterity for it, which is nuts. I don't know if Beyond does that for you, but I mean, I'd make that argument because of how the wording is. Because a monk weapon is any simple melee weapon. Deals a d4 piercing damage. Great. That's pretty cool. If your constitution is quite high as well, like if you're playing quite a tanky spider person, like you're playing like a spider juggernaut or spider rhino, something like that, you're gonna have constitution up the wazoo. So this is gonna deal a lot of damage. If not, this is great like chip damage if you want to just get in there and do something. While you are missing half or more of your hit points, your advantage on this attack rolls. Another reason to use it, if you're starting to bleed out, you have advantage on these attacks. Great. When you attack with this bite and hit a creature that isn't a construct or undead, so a creature that has blood, you can empower yourself in the following ways. You can either regain hit points. You can regain hit points equal to the piercing damage dealt. If you have ways of upping the piercing damage dealt with, I don't know if sneak attack would work, but like monk dice and things like that. Like, you can get health back. This is a way of healing yourself. Great, because you drink their blood or whatever you eat them. Or you gain a bonus to the next ability check or attack roll you make equal to the piercing damage dealt. That's powerful. That's super powerful. And could be quite handy if you really, really, really need to grapple someone, or you really, really need to achieve, like if you really, really need to hit with, say, your sneak attack or something else. Or like you really need to do the thing. You'd have a minimum of a +1. Maximum of like a +9 on top of all the other bonuses you get, which is great. You can empower yourself, so you can do those two things equal to a proficiency bonus per long rest, which is great. Like at 1st to 4th level, that's twice, which is about as much as you might need it. At 20th level, that's 6 times, which makes it quite a scarce thing to use. Yeah, you might not be using it at that level. But it's good to have. It means it grows with you as well. So that's the Dhampir. That's something I might pick. The other option that you've got, it's not as specific, but I could see working in, like if you were making a very specific kind of character, and you'll see it. It's not Theros. It's not Eberron. It's not Inc. It's Ravnica. Here we go. The Simic Hybrid. Now, the story of the Simic are that they're basically mad scientists trying to like hyper evolve. They're like mad scientist bioengineers, and they're obsessed with like perfection and being like no, though, evolving. Like they're mixing animals and people essentially. Usually they mix two animals together, but it's gotten to people. But the basic of it is you are a humanoid that was fused with an animal. Now, what does that sound like to you? Sounds to me an awful lot like a Spuda person. So thematically, it already fits as much as the Dhampir does. So you have adaptations. Yeah. Definitely. I know it says here, like, specifically the Simic. You know, they don't always stay with the Simic. The hybrids don't always stick around. Simic hybrid names. It usually says like they were either human elf or Vidalkin. I think for the purposes of this, it could be anything. If you're playing a Simic hybrid, quote unquote Simic hybrid, in another setting, because you might not be playing in Ravnica, you could be playing in any other setting. You know, your base could be a tiefling and still be an amalgamation, but like looking specific at the Simic, could be human, elf, or Vidalkin. Vidalkin are like they're like a perfectionist race. Some new names after their transformation. For the lore of this, I could see something like a Ben Reilly or like a Scarlet Spider, Kane, very like Clone Saga-esque, or like a Miguel O'Hara. Again, like getting your DNA spliced with a spider. It's literally this. Or you could be a clone. You know, my Spider Sona is a clone. Because I made him when I was 12, and I thought that was so cool. But he's a clone, so I'd make him a Simic hybrid. Let's have a look. So, ability score increase. If you're not using the Tasha's rule of just pick, like, you have 3 points to spend, pick what you want to buff. Your con up goes by 2, and then one other thing goes up by 1. Makes sense if you've been through the role of having your DNA messed with. You'd naturally be a bit hardier. You'd have to be. And then that one other ability score improvement can be whatever they improved with the animal that they gave you. So it could be a dexterity for the spider. Could be wisdom for perceptionness. It could be strength for the super strength. Age. Their age spans have been reduced somewhat, so don't expect to live naturally for very long. But if you're living the life of an adventurer, your lifespan is likely already to be quite low. Alignment. Don't really care about alignment, honestly. If you're a spider person, it's usually lawful, going by, obviously, some sort of creed, like with great power comes great responsibility, or in the case of like Spider-Man Noir, those who have too much power are too dangerous to be left alive. Seriously, Spider-Man Noir is like messed up. They don't go into it in the film or the game, kind of in the game, but they don't like go into like, oh my god, Spider-Man Noir is messed up. See, so you're medium. Great, cool. Walking speed is 30. Great, cool. Dark vision. I mean, most spider people don't see in the dark anyway, but it's always a nice bonus. Like, you don't say no to dark vision. Languages. Read, write, common, and your choice of Elvish or Vidalkin. Again, if you're using the Tasha's alternate ruling to change proficiencies, it's going to be whatever the hell you want. It's going to be whatever 2 you want. So, it doesn't really matter all that much. You could have common and I don't know. Like orc. You know. Animal enhancement. This is what we're here for. Animal enhancement. Your body has been altered to incorporate certain animal characteristics. Choose one now, and then another at 5th level. So you only get 2. At 1st level, your options are Manta Glide, Nimble Climber, Underwater Adaptation. I would opt for this one. Now, you don't get the Spider Climb of a Dompier, but you still are able to have a natural climbing speed, which is great. So maybe just keep that in mind. If your DM is willing enough, they might just give you this as Spider Climb. Like I might. But yeah, it's still really useful. Like being able to go up vertical surfaces with ease is great. If you already are planning to get something like Spider Climb, like you're planning to get the spell, or something in your class does it, you know, or like a magic item, you get a magic item that does it. Manta Glide is very good at replicating the web wings. If you've seen Homecoming and Far From Home, Peter uses his web wings all the time. The Spider-Man 2 gameplay trailer, they both have web wings and glide. Miguel O'Hara has anti-grav web cape that allows him to glide and dive and do the same thing. This is that. So what it says, you have ray-like fins. You can use as wings to slow your fall glide, so they'll be under your arms. When you fall and aren't incapacitated, you can subtract up to 100 feet from the fall when calculating fall damage. That's up to 10d6 of falling damage. You can negate 10d6 falling damage just instantly just because you glide. And you can move 2 feet horizontally for every foot you descend. So say you fall 10 feet. You can glide 20 feet. That's a really good way of getting places. And if you're locked at like, I think you can only have a specific movement speed, like up to your movement speed if you dash. Sorry. Me personally, I would let you use the full thing in a turn, because you fall up to 500 feet a turn anyway. So at least that's what the rules say. You can fall up to 500 feet a turn. So I would let you use the all of your movement if you were gliding, because that's cool. But it also means you have to fall by the end of your next turn. Otherwise, like, you can't just stay in the air. You don't have a flying speed, you don't hover. So those are the two I'd pick for 1st level, and then 5th level you get more. Now these depend on what kind of spider person you're going for. You could do grappling appendages if you want to go the man spider route and have multiple limbs. Said you have 2 special appendages growing alongside your arms, whether claws or tentacles, or sharpened appendages, kind of like claws. You can use it to make. They are natural weapons, so they're not monk weapons. They don't count as. They don't count for that. But you do deal a d6 plus strength mod of bludgeoning damage, which is the same as a mace, might I add you. And immediately after you hit, you can grapple as a bonus action. But the appendages can't do anything, say, articulate. Not really articulate. They can't wield weapons or magic items or specialized equipment. So you can't be wielding 8 weapons. That's what the Thrycreen are for, but they don't have a climb speed, so they're not applicable for Spider Person. But yeah, if you want to go the man spider route and have multiple limbs, just for grappling and pummeling, great. If you want to go, sort of just a bit more basic, you could always go the carapace. Skin places an overall thick shell. You get a +1 bonus to AC when not wearing heavy armor. With spider people, we're likely not wearing heavy armor. I say likely. If you're Penny Parker, then this doesn't apply to you at all. You're just like a variant human. Or what we'll get to in a second. We'll look at variant human actually in a second, but you could always flavor this as like an enhancement to your spider senses or things like that, you know? So it doesn't have to be a carapace. Again, flavoring things. Flavor it as enhanced reflexes. Flavor it as whatever you want. But a +1 to AC all the time, always? Like, that's on par with the defense fight style, which is great. And then the next one, if you want to go, like, weird, this is the one I would pick, specifically for my spider sonar. But if you wanna go weird, there's acid spit, which, let's be real, is pretty cool. So, as an action, you can spray acid from glands in your mouth. Oof. Targeting one creature object you can see within 30 feet of you. Target takes 2d10 acid damage unless it succeeds on a dex save. A DC equal 8 plus con mod plus proficiency bonus. It increases damage when you reach certain levels, so by the end it's doing 4d10. The kicker with this is that you can only use it a number of times equal to your con modifier. And as a spider person, your con modifier is not likely to be very high, so you could only really use it twice. But acid damage, surprisingly, isn't very often resisted. Which is bizarre, if you think about it. Because it's one of the most easily accessible damage types, but it's one of the least resisted. And also the flavor of you opening your mouth and, like, two spider chittering things on your mouth, like, open up like in Men in Black and you just spit acid at people. Like, how weird and out of left field would that be? If you were playing a spider person at your table and you went, yeah, I'm going to spit acid at him. Players at your table would be like, what the hell? What? Are you sure you're Spider-Man? You know, it'd be really weird. But like, I'd pick that. So that's the Simic hybrid. We're gonna look at one more, maybe two more. And it is by the name. Oh. Not sure if it's even here. Might not be. Oh, it's not. Okay. Alright then, Tasha, we're going to have to start digging through your book. This was something introduced in Tasha's Guide to Everything. They literally gave you the tools of, like, you can customize your origin. I.e., you can make your own race. So there's not a race. If the options presented don't really fit your idea of a spider person, the following two can help you with that. So, custom lineage is yeah, you can get you can either increase your ability score, increase by hang on, let's see, is custom lineage a thing? Ah, here we go. Custom lineage. This is what we're looking at. Your race is considered to be a custom lineage for any game feature that requires a certain race such as elf or dwarf. So you don't qualify for things that require elf or dwarf, unless your DM says you do. So you're humanoid, you determine your appearance when you resemble your kin. Small or medium, your choice. Base feed. So, one ability score of your choice increases by 2. It's very flexible, that's great. You gain a feat, any feat you want, which functions as your racial feature, which is great because you can get some really good features, which we'll go over later. Variable trait, you can either have dark vision or proficiency in one skill. I'd go for the proficiency, and I'd pick whatever is most relevant to either your background or how you got your powers. So it could be a knowledge skill, it could be a physical skill, whatever. Language, whatever. Common and one other language, great. This is very similar to something else. Now, most people would want to pick human because Spider-Man's a human. Well, most of them are. Firstly, it kind of like digs at the whole fantasy thing. If you like, you play a human if you want, but like, so many other more interesting options. You only play a human if there's a real reason for it. And humans tend to be like, or like, you know, if you want to be from a human civilization, or there's a human civilization you want to draw heavy parallels from. Playing a human can give you a benefit as you're like the normal one in a group of weirdos, even though you're all adventurers, you're all the weirdos. I don't know many D&D groups that have a human in them, really. Critical Role does it a lot. Like, Campaign 1, Percy was the human. And he was human, and his story was basically him, like, learning to deal with his, like, human limitations, but also massively putting himself on par with most spellcasters due to him inventing guns. He's also super smart. Campaign 2 had Caleb and Beauregard, and they were capable through their classes. Their whole thing was they were showing off the class more than the race. Campaign 3 has Imogen, and she's again showing off more the class than the race. But story-wise, they're from mostly human civilizations, so it makes sense that they'd be human. These human tribes and names and all that, these are Forgotten Realms. You can ignore them if you want. I tend to. What we're here for, though, is not regular human. Because this is boring. Let's be real. 1 in every stat. Wow. Nah, we're not even here for any of the mark humans. We're here for variant human. Which is the human everyone takes, so why isn't it just the default? So, 2 ability scores of your choice increased by 1. Okay, not great, but when you consider everything else, you gain 1 proficiency of your choice. Okay, fine. 1 feat of your choice. Now, I'm grouping these custom lineage and variant human together because they more or less do the same thing. However, custom lineage does it a bit better. But it's just to show you, like, hey, getting a race with a feat attached to it is also a viable option if you want to play a spider person. But I would almost always opt for custom lineage over this, just because you get a language out of it as well, and it's a bit more up to date with the current rule set. This is very sort of, considering the fact that it's a variant and it's Like, just it's not even presented as a standard option. It's presented as an optional option. It just says a lot when custom lineage is like, you take a feat. It doesn't matter if your DM allows it or not. You take a feat, which is great. But again, we'll talk about feats later. So that's races. Again, yeah, like play like custom lineage or variant human if you want to highlight like just the absurdity of your powers. Like it's a story thing, it's a flavor thing. Like there's a narrative reason that you are just a human and nothing else. And all of these races that I've presented so far all have they present a core tenet of any spider person, which is transformation, which is transition. You know, going from one state of being to another. You know, as a Dampier, you were bitten by, let's say, a mana-infused spider, or a were spider, or however you want to do it, and you transformed. Simic Hybrid, you were transformed by magical experimentation. Variant Human, you were probably given your spider powers somehow. And you now have to move from a normal life into one of a super person. And you have to grapple with that. So all these like play into that a bit. Now comes the classes. So, say to yourself, okay, so you've picked your race. What class should I be in order to exemplify what makes my spider person great? Now, you can multi-class. If you're going to play a spider person, I highly recommend... Bugger, keep knocking that. I highly recommend multi-classing because it will bring out the best combinations. It's also really tricky because as much as I've said so far, making a spider person is really hard in D&D. You are quite generalized, or you're very specific. So you really got to pick where your niche is as a spider person. Like with any class, you got to pick what your niche is. But like, as a spider person specifically, why, how are you going to use those powers effectively? How are you going to use those powers? I've got a smattering here of options. We're going to go first. We're going to look at Monk, because this is the most obvious one a lot of people point to. Now, monks are, you know, they're martial artists. They move around a lot. Yeah, we look at making a monk. Quick build. It's Dex and Wisdom. The two of our primary stats. And there's a number of reasons why. If I scroll down. An armored defense. When you're not wearing armor or shield, your AC equals 10 plus Dex plus Wisdom. That is your... You could always flavor that as your innate ability to detect danger and your increased reflexes and reaction times. Because it is your movement speed, your movement ability plus your awareness ability. So that is one way you could do Spider Sense. Great. You'd need items to buff it, and you would need like to spec those stats. But like, that's great. That's fine. The other reason, martial arts. You can punch people with your dexterity. Or you can use monk weapons, like there's a spider person that uses a bow staff. There's a spider person that uses a whip, I'm pretty sure. You know, there are spider people that use swords. I know mine does. But Spider-Man almost always ends up in a fist fight. This is how you do that. Because normally you can just do... It's a strength-based roll and you do 1 damage. Great. Wow, with this, you start at a D4 and you go up. It ends at like a D10 of damage by the time you're later on in this class. So that's great. You know? Key is your like it's your class resource. You can think of it as your web fluid or your spider energy or however you want to think of it. And you can do a couple things with it. You can flurry of blows. After you take the attack action, you can immediately spend a key point to make 2 unarmed strikes as bonus action. With martial arts, you can make 1. So this is this is Spider-Man sort of quick punching, quick moving, you know, punch, trip, kick, into the floor, things like that. Patient defense, you can take the dodge action as a bonus action on your turn. Dodge action. Yeah. When you take a dodge action, you focus on avoiding attacks. The attackers against you are made with disadvantage, and dex saves are at advantage. You lose the benefit if your speed drops to 0 or if you're incapacitated. Makes sense. You can't dodge out of the way when you can't move. But this is also very Spider-Man. You know, this could be your way of like taunting. Like you can use your action to taunt and then spend a key point to make extra sure you're not hit. And then step the wind. You can disengage or dash. Disengage is moving away without attack of opportunity for the rest of the turn. Dash is taking your movement again. Spider-Man is notoriously very fast. Also, your jump distance doubles in this turn. You can, through maybe some clever things, you can flavor this as a web zip. You can flavor this as web swinging. Like, this is absolutely the web swinging thing. If you're out of key points, oh no, you're at web fluid. Well, you're out of energy. Yeah, whatever, but this is one way of doing that. An arm and movement. So you get bonuses to your movement speed. 9th level, you get the ability to move along vertical surfaces, no cost liquids. That's not really a Spider-Man thing. Humanistic tradition. We'll go over that. And deflect missiles is a very Spider-Man thing. If you play the PS4 game, you know that Spider-Man can, if a missile is being fired at him, he can web it and throw it back. This is that. Oh, Minecraft. This is that skill. You can catch a weapon. There you go. So at 3rd level, you can use your reaction to deflect or catch the missile when you're being hit by a ranged attack. When you do so, the damage you take from the attack is reduced by a d10 plus dex mod plus monk level. Which is actually crazy. It negates most ranged attacks. At this level, it does a decent job, but by the time you're like 8th or 9th level, it's doing most of it. But it's your reactions, so you only get 1. Unless you get a magic item that gives you another reaction, you only do it once. If you reduce the damage to 0, you catch the missile if it's small enough for you to hold in one hand, and you have at least one free hand. This implies you can catch things like ballistae or cannonballs. Now, you might not be able to hold it in one hand, but you can reduce the damage by trying to catch it, which is a baller ass thing. Also, if your setting allows firearms, you can catch bullets. This is also a popular one if you're doing a speedster, which we might do in the future. But yeah, if you catch a missile in this way, you can spend a key point and throw it back. You spend 1 key point to make a ranged attack of the weapon or piece of ammunition you just caught as part of the same reaction. You make this attack with proficiency bonus, regardless of what you are proficient in. Counts as a monk weapon for the attack and has a normal range of 20 feet and a long range of 60 feet. Standard for most simple ranged weapons. So say you're in a pseudo-modern setting and a firework gets thrown at you and you manage to reduce the damage. You can throw that fucker back. It doesn't explode and you throw it back. Which, I don't know about you, that's a very Spider-Man thing. Not for bullets or arrows, but for missiles, definitely. Like, bigger things. So maybe you can flavor it like that. That's up to you. Of course, you get your ability score improvement. Slow fall. Ah, nice, AJ. Slow fall. You can use your reaction to reduce any falling damage you take by an amount equal to 5 times your monk level. Now, that's not like the Manta Glide, where you could just cut out an amount of distance. This is straight numbers of, I've rolled this much damage, you can negate this other amount. At this level, it's 20. By the time you reach 20th level, what's 20 times 20? Be 400. You can negate up to 400 points of bludgeoning damage. Now, most of the time, you're not going to be reducing 400 points. You're going to be reducing, like, up to 80. Probably up to, like, 200 if you're stupid. But, like, being able to negate a lot of that is pretty cool. And you can flavor that as Spider-Man being able to land really well. You can flavor that as, like, the web wings, as a web parachute. You know, sliding down the wall to slow down movement. It's really useful. Okay, extra attack. Always useful. Stunning strike. While not very Peter Parker, this is very Miles Morales. If you're looking at Miles Morales stuff, this is definitely the one for you. You start 5th level, you can interfere with the flow of ki in an opponent's body, or you hit a nerve strike, or, if you're Miles Morales, you punch him with lightning. You hit him with static. Shocking. Hit a creature with a weapon melee weapon attack. So this is your unarmed strike. This is any weapon you have. You can spend a key point to attempt to stun. Target must succeed on a con saving throw or be stunned until the end of your next turn. Now, what is stunned? Stunned creature is incapacitated, can't move, can only speak falteringly. Automatically fails strength and dex saves. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage. You also can't take actions or reactions. This is really big and is one of the main draws of the monk. If you're playing a Miles Morales type character, this is amazing. Definitely worth a look. Key empowered strikes. Again, very Miles Morales if you're lacing your attacks with your Venom Blast. Cool. Movement improvement, great. Evasion, staple of Spider-Man. Hey, Sky! Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. We're just talking over classes. Yeah, so evasion, if you make a dex save, you only take half damage. Instead, you take no damage if you succeed. Yeah, you look. You carry on. So yeah, evasion, that's very Spider-Man. Like, dodging out the way of an explosion is very Spider-Man. Stillness of mind. Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man's known for having an iron will. Ending a charmed or frightened effect. Great. This is where it starts to get a bit not Spider-Man. So I'd stop around here. So purity of body, immune to disease and poison. Spider-Man is routinely poisoned by the likes of Scorpion. So I'd stop around here. Tongue of the Sun and Moon. Spider-Man has routinely been to other countries and not been able to speak the language. Because he was raised in New York. Diamond Soul, proficiency in all saving throws. Now that is a very Spider-Man thing. But it's at a point where you get everything else, and it's like, it's not a very Spider-Man thing. Unless you're going for, like, Miguel O'Hara, or you have, like a translator, something or other. Yeah, and it's not Spider-Man from here. It's more like Madam Web at this point. You know, you're entering, like, God Spider. So. Optional class features. Tasha's introduced optional stuff for monks. So, these things, you can take them or leave them. Dedicated weapon. Now, if you're like me, and your Spider Sona has a sword, or you want to play the Web Slinger, who has a shotgun, you can have any weapon as long as it is simple or martial. I'm not sure if firearms count, but I think they count as martial weapons. I know on D&D Beyond you can have them be dedicated weapons, so I'm not worried about that. You must be proficient with it, which, if you're proficient with short sword, long sword, scimitar, then great. This is one of the ways people make samurai, because a dex-based longsword isn't a thing, which is shit. Must lack heavy and special properties. As far as I'm aware, longsword and most firearms lack the special property and aren't heavy. So if you want your Spider Sona to have a specialized weapon, this is a very good feature. Not gonna look key field attack. Quicken healing. Spider-Man has a healing factor. This is a way to get more stamina. Spend 2 key points, roll your martial arts die, and you gain hit points. Now, I want to look at 2 subclasses. So it's 4 elements monk and open hand. Now, 4 elements monk is basically the spell casting monk. You get elemental disciplines, and each of them can cast, may or may not cast a spell. And you got your maximums. You get this one for free, the elemental attunement for free. You can flavor that as gadgets if you want. There's 2 I'm very interested in. So Fist of Unbroken Air. Create a blasting compressed air that strikes like a mighty fist. As an action, you spend 2 key points. And choose a creature within 30 feet of you. The creature must make a strength save. Failed save, they take 3d10 bludgeoning damage. And then additional bludgeoning damage for each key point you spend. And you can push them up to 20 feet away or knock them prone. On successful save, take half as much damage. Don't move and aren't knocked prone. Now you can easily flavor that as a big old web ball. Big old compressed ball of web. And do it that way. There's no reasoning saying that you can't. In fact, that is a pretty cool sort of way of doing that. The other one is Water Whip. You spend 2 key points as an action to create a whip of water. I'm doing that with one hand. And shoves and pulls a creature to unbalance it. A creature that you see within 30 feet of you must make a dex save. On a failed save, the creature takes 3d10 bludgeoning damage again. More damage if you spend a key point. And you can either knock it prone, or you can pull it closer to you. You can, again, easily flavor this as a web line. Like a very forceful web line, but web line nonetheless. You can flavor it as, like, webbing them, pulling their leg, and they hit the back of their head on the floor. You can flavor it as you web and you pull them, like, into something. And that's where the bludgeoning damage is coming from. Or it could literally be you web them, pull them, and knee them straight in the stomach, and that's the bludgeoning damage. But these are really the only two options I'd pick. Everything else is very elemental, so take it or leave it. The other one I'd go for, really, and again, it's only for the lower level features, is Open Hand. And this is more for like the spider strength and the spider sense as well, and a little bit of the healing factor. So you got your Open Hand technique. When you hit with a flurry of blows, you can either have it make a dex save or be knocked prone, make a strength save or be pushed up to 15 feet away from you, or it can't take reaction to the end of the next turn. Being able to knock and shove around, that's quite a Spider-Man thing. Wholeness of body. You can heal up to 3 times your monk level. A second wind is not out of Spider-Man's wheelhouse. And tranquility, this is the last one I'd pick for this one. You gain the effects of the Sanctuary spell. Now, Sanctuary, you ward a creature within range against an attack. Till the spell ends, any creature who target the warded creature with attacks or harmful spells must make a Wisdom save. On failed save, the creature must choose a new target or lose the attack of the spell. This can easily be a deflection. Like you deflect. Doesn't work on Fireball though. There is actually, I just thought of another one as well. Drunken Master. As much as the flavour for this is being drunk, this can easily be anything else. This can be spider related. This can be Speedster as well. I've seen this used for the Flash and Sonic. So you can reflavor this in any ways. It's highly versatile. So ignoring the first one, you get Drunken Technique. Whenever you use Flurry of Blows, you gain the benefit of Disengage. Awesome. We like that. And your walking speed increases by 10 feet until the end of the current turn. So you can easily do like a backflip and gain an extra 10 feet. Awesome. Tipsy Sway. Spider-Man is notorious for being able to get up very quickly. So you can, when you're prone, you can spend 5 feet of movement to stand up. Nice. Awesome. Redirect Attack. Spider-Man does this all the time. When a creature misses you with a melee attack roll, you can spend a key point as a reaction to cause them to hit another creature of your choice within 5 feet of you. I have to go get a drink in a second. My voice is getting dry. Finish this and then we'll... I haven't even gotten to other classes yet, but Monk is very versatile. Drunkard's Luck. Spider-Man is notorious for, like, just barely getting out of situations, so... When you're making an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw, and have disadvantage on the roll, you can spend 2 key points to cancel out that disadvantage. Very nice. 17th level. You gain the ability to make an overwhelming number of attacks against a group of enemies. Whenever you use Flurry of Blows, you can make up to 3 additional attacks with it, for a total of 5, provided that each attacks a different target this turn. I'm thinking Spider-Man Spin Kick. Literally, stand up from prone, do a windmill kick, and then maybe a couple of other jabs here or there. Very cool. If you were going to take Monk that far with a spider person. I wouldn't recommend it, though, but it's very good. Right, I'm going to grab a drink. I'll be right back. Enjoy the music while I do. And I'm back. I am actually going to turn my fan on as well. Because it's warm in this room. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. I swear to God, chat. I swear to God. Also, hi. Hi, you bloody rock. Thanks for coming out. Now, I don't want to make you guys jealous. But I do have cake. As is typical birthday tradition. Now, this isn't my birthday cake. I know that for a fact. More Kingdom Hearts! I love this playlist. It's great. Couple of hit or misses, but like, woof. I just have to get the cake out of its like paper towel wrapping. All the paper towel is sticking to the cake. I don't want to eat paper towels. Not again. Simple and clean. Sanctuary is a better song. Like, in my opinion, I prefer Sanctuary. Like, you can't go wrong with, like, the classics. And Face My Fears. Like, I wish Skrillex wasn't in it. like Shimomura made a a lounge version, or like she did it on like a as part of like a sessions, and that version's way better. Ah, it's alright, don't worry about it. We were just talking about Sanctuary actually, but the spell, not the song. I'd play the song, but I don't want to get absolutely butt fucked by Disney. It does slap. Most of the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack slaps, let's be honest. Shimomura, like, can compose fire from fucking nothing. Like, if you listen to the Final Fantasy 15 soundtrack, like, the game is a mediocre disaster. The soundtrack slaps. Okay. Yeah, you're just joining us, doing Spider-Man in D&D. I'm going to rattle through things fairly quicker now. If you don't understand a rule thing that I go over, please say. I am just going to rattle this off now, because I have a big list, and I didn't realise I've already been here for 2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours. So, what we've gone over so far is stat importance. So, if I let me just put the cake down. I'll show you my notes. Oh, thank you, AJ. So we've done our stat focus, so obviously focusing Dex, Wisdom, Dex, then Wisdom, then Charisma, then Constitution, then Intelligence and Strength, for reasons. We've gone over races to be. That is how time works, yes. Unless you're a Time Lord or a Supreme Kai, in which case time just kind of is. Or you're Xehanort, in which case time is whatever the fuck you want it to be. Yeah, so we've gone over races. So Dampier, because they have Vampire Bite and Climbing Speed specifically. Simic Hybrid because of the theming. Also, like everything is like thematically appropriate as well. But Simic Hybrid because you get like you can get climbing speed, you can get natural weapons, you can get an acid spit. Custom lineage because it's always good. Custom lineage is always good. Oh, I'm bleeding. Should not have picked that scab. Yeah, custom lineage is always good. Very inhuman, but custom lineage is just better. We've gone over one class. And that's Monk. So now I'm going to be working straight from this list. Next, we're going to look at Rogue. Now, Rogue is another big pick for a spider person. Mostly for the same reasons as Monk. It's very dex based. It's very like skill and precision. If you're going for the more Miles Morales route, hell, even the more Hobie Brown route, Rogue is good because it's skill based as well. You can get your skills here. You know, you've got your expertise, always great. Double skill proficiency is always nice. Sneak attack. If you can't hit them more than once, hit them fucking hard. These kind doesn't matter. Cunning action, always great. Always great. Your uncanny dodge to halve attacks that you see, great. Amazing. More expertise, always great. Evasion, as we said for Monk, big Spider-Man energy. Reliable talent, not very Spider-Man Peter Parker, but very Gwen Stacy, very Miguel O'Hara. Blind sense. This is very Spider Sense, actually. You are able to, you are able to hear, you are aware of the location of any hidden or invisible creature within 10 feet of you. That sounds like Spider Sense to me. It really does. It's not blind sight, but it's definitely really, really good. And Slippery Mind. Proficiency in wisdom saves. Like willpower saves for Spider-Man. For spider characters specifically is a big thing. At Elusive, no attack roll has advantage against you while you aren't incapacitated. That is peak Spider Sense. That is absolute peak Spider Sense. And that's about it. So for subclasses, what I've written down. Arcane, Trickster, and Thief. So obviously you get your dash, your disengage. Movement speed buffs are always great. When paired with things like mobile, it's even better. Rogue and Monk, multi-class together, are also quite powerful. But they do overlap in a lot of areas, so there's a lot of redundancy. So Arcane Trickster, if you're going for the Miles Morales route specifically, or like the Miguel O'Hara route, this is for you. So you get spellcasting. It's intelligence based. So if you're going for the more smartest spider person, this is great. They're enchantment or illusion, but some of them can be other wizard schools. Great. You don't get many spells or spell slots. Like, you start off with 2, and you don't get second level spell slots until you hit level 7. Which, like, ouch. But you do get, you a decent number of spells known. Not many cantrips though, you only get 4. You get the Mage Hand Legerdemain, which is you get an invisible Mage Hand. You can use this bonus action. You can use it to pickpocket, you can use it to activate an object, whatever. You can also use your sleight of hand check with it. Now, you can use this, you can flavor this as using your webbing to manipulate things at a distance. If you really wanted to. It's a bit of a stretch for Mage Hand and what Mage Hand does. Because it can't lift things more than 5 pounds. But neither can a webline, so you know. But honestly, I'd say that's it. That's it, really. Like, you can distract the Mage Hand. That's like webbing in somebody's eyes. Great. If you're hidden from a creature when you cast a spell on it for magical ambush, they have disadvantage on saving throw. Great for spells like web. Or like a line-based, like Earthbind or something like that. Or whole person. Great. Otherwise, it kind of fades out after 3. When it comes to Spider-Man, if he doesn't want his mask to come off, it just won't. Is that a thing you can do in D&D? Just, nope, you can't take this off me. Technically. You can do it with weapons and some armors. We'll get to it. Mechanically, strictly speaking, there's 1 or 2 things. And it's mostly like Artificer Armorer, where you can't have your armor come off against your will. As a DM, I'd flavor that as, if you're that adhesive, like if your skin is that adhesive you can stick to walls, yeah, the mask doesn't come off unless you really want it to. Or at the very least it would be a contested check. Have some more cake. It'd be a contested check at the very least. Oh shoot. So there's that. The other one I'd use. Cake's not bad. It could be better. Now, if you wanted to do, I think this one's a bit more Spider-Man. Thief absolutely works for this. So firstly, okay, so you can use your cunning action to disarm a trap or open a lock. I would argue advantage. Definitely in that instance. Like a contested constitution check, or like an athletics check. It's too dry though. This cake's too dry. So, this next one is, I think, is the best Spider-Man one. Second story work. So, you gain the ability to climb faster. Climbing no longer costs you extra movement. Essentially, you get a climbing speed. That's what it is. You get a climbing speed. In addition, when you make a running jump, the distance you cover increases by a number of feet equal to your dex modifier. So you having a higher dex than strength means you can still jump incredibly well without the use of spells. And it's just always on as well, so you don't have to spend key points for it either. Supreme Sneak, Spider-Man is known for being quite stealthy, especially Miles, or like if you're playing or like Noir Spider-Man's quite stealthy as well. If you played any of the Spider-Man PS4 games, there's stealth sections in those. Use magical device. Now Spider-Man's quite smart, he can more or less figure most things out. So this makes sense. By 13th level, you can learn enough about workings of magic, you can revise the use of them even when they're not intended for you. You ignore all class, race, and level requirements for the use of magic items. That's a sick-ass feature just anyway. But it also means, like, say say you want to use the Holy Avenger longsword. Only paladins can attune to it. But you've figured out how to use it, even without being a paladin. Great. These reflexes as well. This is peak, like, Miguel O'Hara style Spider-Manning, I think. You can take 2 turns during first round of any combat. You take the first turn as your normal initiative and the second turn at your initiative minus 10. Like, being able to move and act that fast, it's normally a Spider-Man thing anyway, but I would argue Miguel O'Hara specifically, because of his accelerated vision. Like, that's just cool. Like no one I know ever uses Thief, because there are arguably more interesting options. But if you want just pure rogue, that's not edgy assassin type, this is fucking brilliant. This is a fucking brilliant subclass anyway. But that's rogue. That's everything for rogue. Again, I want to stress, like, I wouldn't just take just one level or just one class. I would multi-class at least with 2 classes. Maybe even 3. If you're feeling spicy. No more than 4, because then it just gets messy. Next up on the roster, that Warlock. I think I've really got one thing for Warlock. Now, a lot of this stuff is magic based. You make a pact, all that. You are beholden to a higher power. But it's very subclass dependent, which works in our favor, kind of. So you get your Otherworldly Patron, which is your subclass. You get your Pact Magic, which is you get a number of spells. Yeah, I know, right? You get a number of spells slots, and they're always at a specific level. So when you're at 3rd level Warlock, you have 2 spell slots. Man. Yeah, so 3rd level Warlock, you have 2 spell slots, and they're always 2nd level. Like, they're always 2nd level. You only get a max of 4 spell slots, though, which is stupid. Really cripples the Warlock. It really genuinely should have been a half-caster. Or gotten, like... I don't know, like 6 spell slots or 7 or 8 spell slots. Yeah. That's why people don't take Warlock to 20th level. Mostly. That's why they multi-class it. Because it just doesn't function really after 10th level. It really just doesn't. But things you can get. You got your Otherworldly Patron. You got your Pact Magic. Invocations. This is what we're here for. So other than subclass, invocations, they are mini features. They're all optional. You have to take them, but you can pick which ones you take. So I would go for things like, right, Eldritch Blast. I want to cover Eldritch Blast first, actually, before I go into any of these. Eldritch Blast, it's the only cantrip that is, I think, class specific, other than Druidcraft. But you get Eldritch Blast, the classic, yeah. So you make a ranged attack, it deals d10 force damage, and every 5 levels, 5 or 6 levels, we'll say, let's say 6, let's say 6 levels. The damage dice doesn't increase, the amount of beams you fire does. Now, you can reflavor Eldritch Blast however you want, because it's force damage, which is magical. I've seen people reflavor Eldritch Blast as web shots. So, with that in mind, you can have it be, you can use Agonizing Blast to have them deal more damage. Kind of makes sense. Mage Armor, that is your Spider Sense, that's your special suit. We might lean a little bit into the symbiote here, like the Venom symbiotes. As if you cast it well, that's just you putting the symbiote on and it increasing your reflexes. Mage Armor is, you get AC 13 plus Dex if you're not wearing armor already. If you already have something like Unarmored Defense, you take whichever's higher. They don't stack. There's not really any other ones, I'd say. Eldritch Sight is a detect magic if you want that to be a Spider Sense, where it's a bit more mystical in nature. Great. If you want the webbing to have massive range, there's Eldritch Spear, which puts it at a range of 300 feet. Grasp of Hadar. Your Eldritch Blast can move a single creature in a straight line 10 feet closer to you. Web Blast, pull them towards you. Web Blast, put them towards you. That's what that is. Lance of Lethargy. You can reduce, once on each of your turns, a creature's speed by 10 feet. You can web them to the floor, you can slow them down. Great. That's really about it. Well, there's Repelling Blast, but like that doesn't really work. You got Invisibility if you want to do the Miles Morales thing. Invisibility at will, but that's a 15th level, so no. And most of these just aren't very Spider-Man-like. You get your Pact Boon, which is like this is the form your pact takes. You can either have a weapon, which is the popular one. You can have a familiar, which is the other popular one. You can have a book, which is the least popular one. And then your Mystic Arcanum, which is basically one per long rest cast higher level spells. So Warlock spell slots recharge on a short rest. And Eldritch Master, which is stupid. Additional Warlock spells. Great. Cool. We might need those. Path of the Talisman, which I think is more Spider-Man-like. Gives you an amulet. It can aid the wearer in any need. The amulet you can flavor as a necklace of some sort, like I know Spider-Gwen has something, Hobie Brown, Spider-Punk has something. It can literally be the mask you wear. You can flavor it to be that. Well, like in Amazing Spider-Man 1, when Peter gives his mask to the kid so he has the courage to climb out of the burning car. You could absolutely have that be an actual mechanic. You give an amulet, which is a talisman you wear when the need is great. The wearer fails an ability check, they can add a default to the roll. And you get a bunch of invocations that go along with that. It was a scene and a half. Invocations like they can teleport, they can rebuke with psychic damage, things like that. But that seems the most Spider-Person like, other than maybe like Blade. But like nothing else works really. There's some like ancient unearthed arcana you might use, but I'm not going over that today. Now, there's only really one. There's only really one. Well, I mean, you've got options right now. You really do have options. You could use Archfey because they've got a teleport and you can reflavor the teleport as a web zip. But nothing else here really screams Spider-Man to me unless you're like using your witticisms to do these things. The one I would opt for is Great Old One. Because this is... You could flavour this as the Web of Fate and Destiny. You could argue that's the Celestial, but like that's got healing, and that's not very spider-like. It's just not. You could also argue Hexblade, but that's fighty. We could have a look at Hexblade though. So you get... This is more for, I would say, Symbiote. Or 2099. Yeah, like this is Symbiote. This is a parasitic presence within you. So Dissonant Whispers. Symbiote might be psychic, I don't know. But like it's all very psychic stuff. Black Tentacles is very Venom. Reading minds. That can be a Venom thing. I don't know. Entropic Ward. When a creature makes an attack roll against you, you can use reaction to impose disadvantage on the roll. Again, making the symbiote make you better at dodging things or resisting things. But I mean, other than that, it's like, Hexblade though I think might be actually the best one. So you get some cool spells. Shield is always a good spell. Like you can make a web shield and just catch magic missiles or give yourself a bonus to AC. I'd ignore a lot of the smite spells unless you're using a weapon. Blur, you're so fast that things have a disadvantage against you. You know, nothing else really screams Spider-Man to me though. Hexblade's Curse. You can have that be like a lock-on, or your spider sense being like, right, this person specifically, we're gonna zone in on weak points in this thing because you deal extra damage to the creature. Any attack roll you make against them crits on a roll of a 19 or a 20. If they die, you gain hit points back. Weird, but okay. Only if they die though. So again, Venom, Accursed Spectre, Armor of Hexes. None of it really screams Spider-Man. Yeah, it's more Venom. It's more Venom, Poison, Carnage. Like, Accursed Spectre could be you taking a piece of the symbiote off, putting it on a corpse, having it raised as a spectre, or because yeah, you can raise the dead with this. Armor of Hexes. If the target cursed by Hexblade's curse hits you with an attack roll, you can roll a d6 on a 4 or higher that misses you. Being extra dodgy and having the symbiote make you better. Master of Hexes is just switching Hexblade's curse. So again, not much for Spider-Man, but you can absolutely get away with like a couple of levels of Warlock. I wouldn't argue many though. I'd argue like 4 at most. Like at absolute most 4 levels. What else we got? Yeah, and invisibility as well for like the fighters. Fighters again, not for the whole 20 levels, but if you really wanted to go for something a bit more brawlery, you could absolutely go fighters. They are the well-rounded class. What do? They fight, that's it. So look at your fighting style. You could absolutely go for defense if you're armored up. You could go protection if you really wanted to. There are some other ones we'll go over in a bit when we get to them. Second Wind. A Second Wind is not out of Spider-Man's wheelhouse. He does it routinely. Action Surge. Moving faster. Again, it's not out of Spider-Man's wheelhouse. Extra attacks. Great. Indomitable. Again, a Second Wind is not out of a Spider-Man's wheelhouse. And that's it. You just get more extra attacks. Everything else is subclass. A fighter is made by their subclass. And fighting style, which we'll have a look here. All of the ones that I'm going to recommend for Spider-Person are optional from Tasha's. Blind fighting. Spider-Man is always the one who keeps getting up. No matter how many times I fall, I keep getting back up. cries and eats pizza. I'd say blind fighting is very spider sense. You have blind sight out to a range of 10 feet. Within that range, you can effectively see anything that isn't behind total cover. Or if you're blinded or in darkness. He isn't till he isn't, yeah. Moreover, you can see invisible creatures in that range unless they successfully hide from you, i.e. Spider sense, he can sense invisible things. Interception, again, catching missiles. You gotta have a weapon in your hand for that, or a shield, but like... I'd argue that's Spider-Man. We'll go over superior technique and battle master stuff later. Unarmed fighting. Because again, Spider-Man's a brawler. Very rarely does a spider person use any weapons. I know mine does. You got web slinger. That's about it. You unarmed strike deal. Again, this is strength based, so maybe dip into monk a little bit to have this become dex based. But if you're not wielding weapons or a shield at all, the d6 becomes a d8. So that's a d8 free weapon at level 1. And if you grapple someone at the start of each of your turns, you can deal bludgeoning damage to the creature. Oh, that's good. So, ones I want to look at. Imagine being able to do that. Yeah, I know, right? So, we'll look at Champion first. Because Champion, if you're just multi-classing for this, for like the blind fighting or the unarmed fighting, then Champion is a good... It's the fighter's fighter. Yeah. Where Battle Master is like what a warlock is to a fighter, with being able to pick what techniques they have, and they're very versatile. Champions are the fighter. So you get an improved critical. Always nice to be able to crit more often. Remarkable athlete. This is your super strength. You know, at 7th level you can add half your proficiency bonus rounded up, which at that point is plus 3 proficiency, so it'd be a +2 at this point. To any strength, dex, or constitution check you make that doesn't already use your proficiency. That includes base checks. So if you have to make a strength check, it already adds on top of that. If you make a con check, adds on top of that. Not for saving throws though, but you have Indomitable for that. In addition, when you make a running long jump, the distance you can cover increases by a number of feet equal to your strength mod. Being able to jump around more, it's not as good as like the Thieves one, or maybe like the jump spell, or Step of the Wind, but it's still something. You get your additional fighting style, which is, you know, more fighting styles. Great. Superior critical, always good to crit more often. Survivor. You attain the pinnacle of resilience in battle. Start of each of your turns, you regain hit points. Maybe that's Spider-Man. Healing factor. I'd argue that's more Wolverine, but there we are. The other one I want to look at is... what was the other one I was looking at? Psy Warrior. Oh, come on, you son of a... There we go. Psy Warrior. So this is psionics, but you can always flavor psionics as, again, web stuff. So Wellspring of Psionic Energy, which is your Psionic Energy dice, which is a d6. Increases to d8, 10, 12, whatever. And you can use it for the following things. Protective Field. You can reduce damage taken. Again, web shields, catching things. Psionic Strike. You can propel your weapons with Psionic Force. Once each turns, immediately after you hit a target within 30 feet of you with an attacker, deal damage to it with a weapon you can expend and deal force damage. Miles recently had a new power in the comics where he can make lightning swords. This would go very well with that, I think. And Pact of the Blade as well, Warlock as well, but like, you know. And telekinetic movement, you can move a creature with your mind. That's webbing. That's using webbing to pull and push things. You can web something straight to your hand. And then you've got more stuff as well. It's high-powered leap. Gain a flying speed equal to twice your walking speed until the end of your current turn. That's web swinging. Telekinetic thrust. That's your web ball. No, it's a thing. Miles has lightning swords now. You know, and then everything else really isn't very Spider-Man. But yeah, so that's it for classes. But yeah, again, like, actually, there is one more. There's a few more, actually. There we are. So, we'll look at Sorcerer. Now, there's not really much in terms of Sorcerer that you could argue. You could say a couple levels of Storm Sorcerer just for being able to... It was a bonus action on your turn. Immediately after you cast a spell, you can move 10 feet with a provoking opportunity attacks. Great, cool. Not very Spider-Man. You can argue Draconic Bloodline, but again, like, only a couple levels. And that's only so you can protect yourself a little bit and gain a bit more health. Divine Soul, if you want to be connected to the web of life and destiny, but you might as well be taking Cleric at that point, because you're not really using anything other than, you know, it's not very useful. I would argue 1 or 2 levels of this. Clockwork Soul. You're connected to something that... Madam Web who? Yeah, I know, right? You are connected to... It says clockwork, but you can argue a plane that a force of nature that aims to keep balance. You get some pretty good ones. Alarm and protection from good and evil. Spider sense stuff. Aid and lesser restoration. That's like, you know. I wouldn't go too far in this class. But you can restore balance. When a creature you see within 60 feet of you rolls a d20 with advantage or disadvantage, you can use your reaction to make it a neutral roll, to make it strictly just a 1d20 roll, equal to proficiency bonus. And you can flavor that as anything. You can tap into the grand equation of existence. As an action, spend 1 to 5 sorcery points. Create a magical ward around yourself and another person. Yeah, I wouldn't use that, really. Like, I would go to, like, again, like 3rd level for this. And this is mostly... I'd go sorcerer just for the spells. That's about it. Possibly. Right, I also want to look at Ranger, specifically Gloomstalker Ranger. Now, Rangers are also quite dex-based. They're also quite nature-based and like weapon-based. Good news is they can more or less function by themselves. Rangers are very good at functioning by themselves. Favorite enemy, I'd ignore that. Natural Explorer. There's no urban setting for that. There's no urban choice for that, so I'd ignore that. Fighting style. There are more optional fighting styles. So again, you choose defense, pick a weapon, or look later. Or take a level in like monk or fighter. Spells. There's some really cool spells you can get. Extra attack, land stride, advantage on saving throws against magical plants or creative manipulate terrain movement. I'd say meh on that one, but like through no magical plants not being slowed by them without taking damage from them if they have thorns or spines or hazards. Great, cool, whatever. The rest of this is just Like feral senses, yeah, that's a spider sense. Preternatural senses help you fight creatures you can't see, or when you attack a creature you can't see, your inability to see them doesn't impose disadvantage on your attack. You're also aware of the location of any invisible creature within 30 feet of you, provided the creature isn't hidden from you. That's blind fighting. That's just blind fighting. Right, so these are the ones I'd look at. So, Canny. These features replace ones in the Ranger class. So, Canny, double proficiency bonus any check you make. Great. Acrobatics or perception, or athletics. Arguably, you can't go wrong with any of those. Roving, your walking speed increases by 5 feet, and you gain a climbing and swimming speed. Climbing speed is what we're after. So, awesome all round. Sucks that you get it at 6th level. You should get it earlier. If we're opting for the Spider-Man route, we get it earlier, so I'd argue through your race. Tireless, as an action, you can give yourself a number of temporary hit points. Again, Spider-Man is known for getting back up. Use this to keep going. Favored foe. Much like X-Blade's Curse. When you hit a creature with an attack roll, you can mystically bond with nature to mark the target. It sucks you have to concentrate on it. I don't like that. If I was running it, I'd change that. And you essentially deal extra damage to it. But honestly, just use Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark's a better spell. But this is a better feature to have than the other one. Damage goes up though, but you can get additional spells. We'll look at those later. Fighting options. Druidic Warrior. You get two cantrips for your choice for the Druid list. There's a couple of Druid cantrips that we might look at later. Blind fighting as well. Again, awesome blind fighting. We love that. Primal awareness, you get more spells. Nah. Nature's Veil. Miles Morales. As bonus action, you can magically become invisible until the start of your next turn. We always love more invisibility. Love it. Now, specifically, the one I wanted to look at was called Gloomstalker. This is built for like Spider-Man Noir, Miguel O'Hara, you know, those kinds of slightly darker Spider-Man. So you get Dread Ambusher. You master the art of ambush. You can give yourself a bonus to your initiative rolls equal to your wisdom modifier. Now, because maybe you're a spider person, you're speccing Dex and Wiz, especially if you're multi-classing monk as well, you are gonna go first most of the time. At this point, you're gonna have a +6 to your initiative, or a +5 or +6. By the end of it, you should have a +10. If you take the alert feat, which we'll get onto later, you'll have at least a +7 to your initiative, which means you should be going very, very first. At the start of your first turn of each combat, your walking speed increases by 10 feet, which lasts until the end of your turn. Take the attack action, you can make an additional weapon attack, and it deals an extra d8 of damage. You could always roll on that one, but like, God, no one, yeah. Again, you guys have been alright for initiative, so fine. You get Umbral Sight. You get Dark Vision out to 60 feet. If you already got Dark Vision, it just extends out. Also, while in darkness, you are invisible to any creatures that rely on Dark Vision. That, to me, is Spider-Man Noir. That's not even just Miles, that's Spider-Man Noir. Iron Mind, Proficiency and Wisdom saves. If you already have it, Indoor Charisma saves. Boss saving throws are always really good, and it's the Willpower save, which is Spider-Man's whole thing. Stalker's Fury. You learn to attack with such unexpected speed, you can turn a miss into another strike. Once on each of your turns, if you miss with a weapon attack, you can make another weapon attack as part of that action. Only ever once, but my god, that could be cool as a Miguel thing. Shadowy dodge. At 50 level, you dodge in unexpected ways. Dodge in unforeseen ways with wisps of supernatural shadow around you. That could be any spider person, honestly. Whenever a creature makes an attack against you, you have doesn't have advantage on the roll. You can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on it. That is powerful. If you're at the later levels where things have a plus 17 to hit you, then you can always stop a natural 20 with that. And it's just cool. It's a cool thing. Yeah, you guys don't have to deal with that yet. Oh, you guys will get to the plus 17 at some point. I meant what I said. Plus 17. I meant what I said. You guys don't have to worry about that just yet. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. The monsters that do plus 17 you won't encounter until like level 15 actually. There you go. All sorted. You're fine. Right, there's one more class I want to go over. Banger. Artificers. Yep. Here's the thing, by the time we get there, you might have forgotten about this whole exchange. Alright, artificers. What's an artificer? The magical tinkerers. They make devices to supplement magic. They're enchanters as well. They can also use firearms. No, you won't. So if you want to do like the web slinger, this automatically gets that. You can, again, this is like the Spider-Man that are smarter, that have like they tinker with stuff like your Peter Parkers, your Penny Parkers. This is really good for a Penny Parker build actually. Your Miles Morales, your Miguel O'Hara, you know, Spider-Man that tinker with things. Spellcasting needs tools for you. Yeah, it's, you know. And you prepare spells as well, so you make gadgets. Oh yeah, no problem. The big smarts. You can infusions. These are your bread and butter. These are the magic items you make. And you can remake them. You can magically make a set of artisan's tools. You can make tools out of webbing. Or just pull them out your ass like Peter Parker does. Flash of genius. This could be your spider sense pointing things out to other people. Or using it for yourself. No, being able to tune up 4 magic items at once. Putting a spell in an item. Web shooters, anyone? Magic items savant. Like Artificer is just really good. If you wanted to do just 20 levels of Artificer for things like Penny Parker, or if you wanted to go quite a few ways into it after doing a bit of Monk or Rogue, it wouldn't go amiss. If you wanted to just do, but you'd have to drop something else. Is the only thing, because being multi-ability dependent or mad is a bit of a nerf for you. But if you can fudge it with some magic items like the Helm of Intelligence, set your intelligence to 19, and just not touch it. Yeah, it does. In fact, Penny's probably more of an artificer than anything else. And then these are the infusions you can have. Arcane Propulsion Armor. There's a whole list here. I'm not going to go into specifics, but like Armor of Magical Strength. You could do this for like the Iron Spider as well. You know, Arcane Focus, you know, Enhanced Defense, Enhanced Weapon. Helm of Awareness is your spider sense. You have advantage on initiative rolls, and you can't be surprised. Ignore that one. Mind Sharpener, yeah. Free Weapon Repeating Shot, if you wanted to flavor something as a web shooter. Replicate Magic Item. There's some really good magic items here. Like, what's this bag of holding? Spider Ham. It just has this as an innate ability. There you go. There's your hammer space. Let's see. Something else really that's like spider person. There's Gauntlets of Ogre Power. Up your strength to 19. Eyes of the Eagle. Advantage on perception checks or on sight. Cool. Headband of Intellect. Nice. Ring of Jumping. Can jump at will. Slippers of Spider Climbing give you spider climb speed. Slippers don't allow you to move on a slippery surface, such as one covered in oil or ice. That makes sense. We were going to go over some magic items in a bit, but like, that's one of them. That's one of the big ones. So you can absolutely be an artificer and have that. You can have a Belt of Hill Giant Strength instead if you wanted. Strength of 21, great. I'd say that's about it. And then your specialisms. I am gonna opt for Armorer. For just for Spider, yeah. Because you gain proficiency in heavy armor. You don't really need to hone in on Dex all that much if you don't want to. But the Armorer armors can be any armor. Actually, tell a lie. There's another Artificer one I'm going to look at, but we'll do this one first. So this is more for the Iron Spider people, yeah? The Iron Spider, you could argue, is medium armor. Or super advanced light armor. It's got the same stats as studded leather. You slap a bunch of enchantments on it. Or mechanisms on it. 18 AC, easy. There's some spells. None of these are really all that Spider-Man. But you could always, you always flavor them however you wanted to. Your arcane armor can be any armor. It doesn't have to be heavy armor, so you can make it light armor if you wanted to. Gains these benefits if it normally has a strength requirement. Lacks it for you. You can use it as a spellcasting focus. This is... You bloody rock. This is what you were on about earlier with taking the mask off. The armor attaches to you and can't be removed against your will. It also expands to cover your entire body, although you can retract and deploy the helmet as a bonus action. Very Iron Man. You can don and doff the armor as an action. Great. Armor model. I would go for the Infiltrator myself. You can swap between these during a long or short rest. So. Lightning launchers. That's your taser webs right there. That's taser webs. Powered steps increase wheel speed by 10 feet. Great. Advantage on dex stealth checks. Amazing. Awesome. Extra attack. Always nice. Armor modifications. This is a really good one. They now each piece of the armor counts as a separate infusion. So the chest piece, the boots, the helmet, and the special weapon, which for you is the lightning launchers. You also the number of maximum items you can infuse increases by 2, but those extra items must be keep knocking that. Must be part of your arcane armor, which they're gonna be anyway. That's redonkulous. That is absolutely redonkulous. Perfected armor. We'll look at Infiltrator again. Any creature that takes lightning damage from lightning launcher glimmers with magical light until the start of your next turn. Bit of Miles Morales there. Addition, the attack has advantage, and if that attack hits, gives an extra d6 lightning damage. So yeah, that's your Miles Morales. More lightning damage there, which is great. The other one I wanted to look at, for Penny Parker specifically, is Battlesmith. Because you get a Steel Defender, which is your SP-R unit. This is your spider unit. So yeah, you get proficiency in martial weapons. Any magical weapon you use uses your intelligence instead of anything else. Great. You get your Steel Defender. It's a medium creature. It's got no amount of hit points depending on your level. It uses your proficiency bonus. It's got great passive perception. Can't be surprised. So if you want to pile all the spider stuff into the spider unit, there's this. Now, there is the problem. It's a medium construct. So if you're a medium creature, you can't ride it. You can't ride in it. Unless you picked the Dampier or custom lineage and made yourself small enough to ride in the thing. Which, if you're going strictly for Penny Parker, she's technically a small creature. Or you can have the spell Enlarge Reduce. Enlarge the Steel Defender and then you can ride it. Yeah, I usually have the rule if you're playing a child, you count as a small creature. And it's got some really cool stuff. It deals force damage as well. And can repair itself. Or one construct. Like, that's just ridiculous. Extra attack. Always nice. Arcane Jolt. If you hit the target with a magic weapon, or your Steel Defender hits a target, channel magical energy through the strike to create one of the following effects. Takes an extra 2d6 force damage. Always nice. You can flavor that as a gadget or like I don't know, something. You can heal one creature or object within 30 feet of the target. I don't know how you'd flavor that. Healing nanites, I suppose. And then improved defender. So Arcane Jolt and Steel Defender become more powerful. So Arcane Jolt and damage becomes 46. Steel Defender gets a +2 to AC. Whenever the Steel Defender uses its deflect attack, the attacker takes force damage equal to 1d4 plus intelligence modifier. That is a recipe for Penny Parker, if I'd ever seen one. The spells aren't bad either for it. Now, we've covered classes, and classes we've gone into great detail of, because they are most of the game. However, the other half of the game is spells. I have a list here. So, web. Let's view all spells. This is one of the reasons why I was putting spellcasters in the mix as well, because yeah. So, web is the default. It's the one you go to. It's second level, which means you can get it fairly early on. You conjure a mass of thick, sticky webbing at a point you choose within range. Fills a 20-foot cube for the point of duration. It's difficult terrain and lightly obscures the area. Awesome. If the webs aren't anchored between two solid masses, such as walls or trees, or laid across a floor, wall, or ceiling, the conjure web collapses in on itself when the spell ends. So you need to, like, just have it make sense that where it goes. Webs laid over a flat surface have a depth of 5 feet. Means it's not lightly obscured, but it is difficult terrain still. Each creature that starts its turn in the webs, or enters them during its turn, must make a dex save. On a failed save, it's restrained. A restrained creature can use an action to make a strength check. Not athletics, not saving throw. Raw strength check against your spell save DC. You can also set the fucker on fire if you really wanted to, dealing 2d4 damage to any creature that starts its turn in the fire. It burns away in a round though, so it burns quite quick. But if you wanted to set up a trap with Iron Man or Ghost Rider, or incendiary webs. Oh, I didn't think of that. So that's, you know, fairly standard. Web up an area, restrain some people. Spider Climb is the other go-to spell. I would only not recommend getting it, only if you want access to be able to climb up things all the time. Again, second level spell, you can get it fairly early on. Till the spell ends, one willing creature you touch, and you can touch yourself. You gain the ability to move up, down, across vertical surfaces and upside down ceilings, walls while leaving the hands free. Target also claims a climbing speed equal to its walking speed. Well, for when you find a bloody big spider in the house and use a lighter and kind of spray to burn it all down. Kinda, except you're the spider in this situation. And again, Sorcerer, Warlock, Artificer. What? I didn't say anything that wasn't incorrect. Long Strider just increases your movement speed by 10 feet. Non-concentration, again. Web and Spider Climb are concentration spells. Jump, triples your jump distance. Non-concentration. Well, look at some of the other really cool things. Hold Person, you can always flavor as webbing. You can flavor this as webbing. It's literally, or again, Miles's like taser webs or Miles's venom sting. Choose a humanoid you can see within range, 60 feet. They must make a saving throw or be paralyzed. Paralyzed is nasty. They're incapacitated, so they can't take actions or bonus actions, and they can't move. They can't move or speak. Automatically fails strength and dex saves. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage. Any attack hits the creature is a critical hit if the attacker is within 5 feet of the creature. If you're pairing this with rogue stuff, that's guaranteed sneak attack. And guaranteed crit sneak attack every single turn. If you go in Miles Morales, I'd go rogue. It's because, fuck me, that would hurt. And again, who can cast this spell? Come on. Yeah, here we go. Sorcerer, Warlock, but not Artificer, which is fine. Also, I'm gonna say it out here now. If you wanted to do a Hobie Brown build, I would take Bard. Like at least 2 levels of Bard. And I would take either College of Glamour, or College of Law, or College of Valor. Yeah. You can give him the Norman Osborn special. What else have we got? Right, invisibility is fairly obvious for your Miles Morales types. Snare isn't a common one. It's first level. Wizard and Artificers get it, and Rangers. Cast this spell, use the rope to create a circle of 5 foot wide radius on the floor. This can be like spider silk rope. When you finish casting, the rope disappears and becomes a magical trap. It is invisible, requiring successful investigation check to discern. The trap triggers when a small or medium creature or large creature moves onto the ground or the floor in the spell's radius. The creature must succeed on a dex save or be magically hoisted into the air, leaving it hanging upside down 3 feet above the ground or floor. This creature is restrained there until the spell ends. You can make a dex saving throw at the end of each of your turn, ending the effect on success. Alternatively, creature or someone else who can use use their action to make an Arcana check against your spell save DC. So if you want to tie people up for interrogation, or you want to just leave them there, it's a great spell. It lasts 8 hours. If you have the ability to make silk rope, 25 feet of silk rope, go for it. This is a great spell for that. But it takes a minute to set up though, so maybe more for that. Vicious Mockery. This is the dry quip insulting spell. Essentially, you insult someone. If they fail a wisdom save and they can understand you, they take a d6 psychic damage and have disadvantage on their next attack roll. Psychic damage isn't oft resisted, and this is fairly Spider-Man. Downside, only bards get it. It's the only downside. But this is the epitome of saying something to distract your enemy, and because you can do it at will, it's a cantrip. It's just silly. Shocking Grasp. Melee spell attack. You deal, I think, a d8 of lightning damage, or more as the levels go up. And the creature you attack, if it hits, they can't take reactions. Very Miles Morales. Chain Lightning. Very Miles Morales. chain lightning. Yeah, chain lightning is a sorcerer wizard spell, but 6th level. Create a ball of lightning that arcs toward a creature of your choice within range, 150 feet, then leaps. Spins 3 other targets, each must be within 30 feet of each other. Dex save for 10d8 lightning damage, half as much on a successful roll. Now, this is like endgame miles, but it's still cool because it's you could reflavor it as lightning web. I've lumped all these in together, but you can have them be like, this is your spider sense. Foresight is a 9th level spell, gives you advantage on every attack roll and saving throw. Like any detection spells like detect magic, good and evil, poison, disease. Any divination spell really can be spider sense. Any and all. You know, augury. I know, not augury, but like the divination spell. Divination. Here we go. It's a cleric and wizard spell. Your magic, an offering you put. Contact with the god or god services. You ask a single question. Yeah. This could be like a Madam Web thing. But like small things like that, I reckon could be useful. Like foresight. Touch a willing creature. Bestowed a limited ability to see the future. This is a 9th level spell, mind. But it is for warlocks, wizards, bards as well. For the duration, the target can't be surprised and has advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. Additionally, other creatures have disadvantage on attack rolls against the target for the duration. Did someone say spider sense? This is literally what it is. This is spider sense. Just the mechanics of this now are so broken. What else we got? Thorn Whip. This one's a little bit more on the nose. Create a long, vine-like or web-like whip that covered in thorns and lashes out your command toward a creature in range. It's a 30-foot range. Make a melee spell attack against the target. If it hits, it's a d6 piercing damage. And if the creature is large or smaller, you pull them 10 feet closer to you. That's not a web line and pull forward. I don't know what is. It's very on brand, and it's an artificer one as well. So if you're doing the Penny Parker thing or the Iron Spider thing, go for it. Guidance resistance. They're just good ones to have overall. Like guidance adds a d4 to ability checks. Resistance adds a d4 to saving throws. But it's only one, and it's a 1 minute concentration. But they're both cantrips. They're really good. Misty Step is the last one for spells. Misty Step. So, Misty Step. Briefly surrounded by silvery mist, you teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. You can absolutely flavour that as web zip. Just zip, whoop, now I'm there. And this is a warlock and sorcerer spell. It's also a fairly common spell as well. Because people like to be able to... Yeah, and it's a bonus action as well, so you can still attack with it if you wanted to. In the PS4 game, Spider-Man PS4 game, he has a thing where he can like throw it directly into someone. I think it's a web strike it's called. This is that. It just costs a spell slot is all. Okay, so that's it for spells. It is cool. It's one of the benefits of that magic system. Right. We got a couple of feats and then we got a couple of magic items to go over and then we'll be done then. So let's look at some feats. First one we're going to look at is Alert. Always on the lookout for danger, you gain the following benefits. +5 bonus to initiative. Very nice. Can't be surprised while you're conscious. Other creatures don't gain advantage on attack rolls as a result of being unseen by you. Did somebody say spider sense? This is if you're gonna be going variant human or custom lineage, this is the feat you pick up. Because this is more or less spider sense. So it is also just a great feat overall, especially if you're the more dex focused, or you're a Gloomstalker Ranger, and you can get like +15 on your initiative. Stack it with a spell like Gift of Alacrity. Add a D8 to that. Yo, we're looking at absolute maximum 23. +23 for initiative. So you will always have a minimum of 24. But that's like late game. With like 20s in stats and stuff like that. And someone else casting the spell on you. What else we got? Athlete, I think, could be a good one for... Yeah, I think climbing, the athlete could be good for if you want to go more the super strength route than the physicality route. So strength to dex up by 1, nice. When you're prone, you stand up only using 5 feet of your movement, like the drunkard one, the drunkard monk. Climbing doesn't cost you extra movement, but you still don't have a climbing speed, weird. When you make a running long jump, you can, or running high jump, you can move only 5 feet. You can do so only moving 5 feet rather than 10 feet. If you make a running jump, you need to move 10 feet first, but with this, you only need to move 5 feet. Great if you want to get into the physicality angle of Spider-Man. So like your Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, then, or like your Miles Morales, no, not Miles Morales, like your Miguel O'Hara types, you know. What else we got? Wouldn't say. Mobile. There we go. Mobile. Speed up by 10 feet. We like that. When you dash, difficult terrain doesn't cost you extra movement on that turn. Did somebody say leaping over a traffic jam? Or leaping through a crumbling building? Like, that's perfect for that, because that would be a difficult terrain. When you make a melee attack against a creature, you don't provoke opportunity attacks on the creature for the rest of the turn, whether you hit or not. You're that fast. It's a good feat. I can attest to that. Observant, if you want to go the more spider sense route. into whiz up by 1. Great. If you can see a creature's mouth while it is speaking a language you understand, you can interpret what it's saying by reading its lips. That's not so much spider sense, that's more accelerated vision. But it's still very good. And you have a +5 bonus to your passive perception investigation. That's the spider sense, that's your reflexes going. But if you've got expertise in your passive, in your perception, this just adds to it. I'm watching a show at the moment. It's ending this week, actually. Oh, bless. High Rollers Herois. The cleric has a +6 wisdom, expertise in perception, and has observant. So we're talking 6 plus 12 plus 5. So that's 18. That's plus 23. That's a 23 passive perception. No, that's a 33 passive perception. So it's a plus... Yeah, it's a plus 17 to active perception, 33 passive. The 20th level gets ridiculous though, so don't worry too much about that. Other one I'd get, maybe, is Resilient. If you don't have proficiency in dexterity saving throws, this will just give you that. Literally, choose an ability score, and then you get your +1 in that score, and you get proficiency in saving throws with that. Like, if you don't already have proficiency in dex saves or wisdom saves, this is great for that. Sentinel is just always good anyway. Hit a creature with an opportunity attack, creature becomes 0. They provoke opportunity attacks from you, even if they take the disengage action. And when a creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack against someone else, that target doesn't have this feat, you can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against the attacking creature. Sentinel is a great feat. Last one, Skill Expert. Up 1 ability score. Proficiency in 1 skill. Expertise in 1 skill. This is where you get your expertise in your athletics, your acrobatics, your perception, your stealth. Whatever specific thing you want your Spider-Man to be really good at. You get that here if you're not taking Rogue or Bard. Now, if you really wanted to, Tough. If you want to just up your hit points, Tough is always a nice option. So those are some feats you can pick up. We're going to do magic items now, and that'll be it then. We've gone over the slippers of Spider Climb. Very, very nice. We'll do these are Wonder Web. 7 charges. When you hold it, you can expend 1 of its charges to cast the web spell, DC 15 from it. Regains a d6 plus 1 expended charge daily at dawn. If you use his last charge, you roll d20 on a wall, it crumbles to dust and is destroyed. You can have this as a wand. I would reflavor that as braces of web. They don't offer anything else other than being able to cast the web spell. But well, web. Cast web up to 7 times a day. Ooh, see how good web is. Yeah, Rod of Alertness can function almost as a it can function as a secondary spider sense. Although it is a very rare item, so So, holding the rod, you have advantage on perception checks and rolls for initiative. Holding the rod, you can actually use your action to cast one of the following spells from it. Detect good and evil, detect magic, detect poison and disease, or see invisibility. Again, more spider sense stuff. Protective aura is the one that I would argue isn't very Spider-Man-like. But you could argue you've made like a reflective barrier. 60-foot radius. When they're in there, they get +1 saving throws and AC. Sense the location of invisible or hostile creatures in that bright light. Yeah. For 10 minutes. Great. Now we're getting into the stuff I think is a bit more Venom-ish. It's the tattoos. If you don't know, you can get magic tattoos. Great. So, first one we're looking at. Coiling Grasp Tattoo. To attune this item, you need to, Grasping Tendrils. While the tattoo is in your skin, use as an action, cause tattoo to extend inky tendrils. Reach for a creature you see within 15 feet of you. Must succeed on a DC 14 strength saving throw, 3d6 force damage. Yes. As an action, creature escape. Yeah. Grab also ends if you halt it. If the creature is ever more than 50 feet away from you. Yeah. That's very Venom. You could also flavor that as webbing, but that's very Venom. You were going for the symbiote angle. Eldritch Claw Tattoo. Magical strikes. While the tattoo is on your skin, your arm strikes are considered magical and gain +1 to attack rolls and damage rolls. If you're playing a monk, this is great. Eldritch Maul. As a bonus action, you can empower, or if you and I'm fighting style with fighters. You can empower the tattoo for a minute of duration. Each of your melee attacks with a weapon or unarmed strike has a reach of 15 feet away. Its inky tendrils launched toward the target. In addition, your melee attacks deal an extra d6 force damage on hit. Yes, Tess can get tattoos. We've gone over this, Faith. I think we've gone over this. Yes, you can. Ow! Stop hitting that. God, I need to really get a desk. So yeah, very Venom. The last one I'd recommend is this one, the Masquerade Tattoo. It's a common item. Fluid ink. You can shape the tattoo into any color or pattern and move it at the area of skin. Whatever form it takes, it's obviously a tattoo. It can range in size from no small to a copper piece to an intricate works of art that covers all your skin. Did somebody say body art? Cover the skin in a costume, or once per dawn, cast disguise self. Now, in the animated series, the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, the symbiote could give Peter Parker any costume, any clothes, any you wanted. This is very much that. So if you're going for more of a symbiote build, I'd recommend those tattoos. Other than that, I can't think of any other magic items that would really benefit you. Like, in general for builds, maybe like Gauntlets of Ogre Strength to set your strength to 19, Hill of Belt Giant Strength. Belt of Hill Giant Strength to get your strength to 21. Or it's like anything to get your strength up, or your con up, or your dex up, or anything to increase that. Big stonk indeed. But those are just good ones to have overall, I think. Oh, definitely. Definitely, definitely. And with that, I think we're done. And just checking my front door. Yeah. I think that's everything. I said we might do Pokemon afterwards if it wasn't too late, but like, I covered a lot today. And it is quite late, so... Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Did cover quite a bit. This is what happens when I get engaged in one of my core interests. I keep going. I've been here for 3 hours. While we can do a tad of flavor text, absolutely. And this is all official stuff, by the way. If you go, there's one subclass in a book. Let me get my Google Drive app. I'm gonna get my Google Drive app. And we're gonna get up a little book. Little book called the Compendium of Forgotten Secrets. Because there's one more thing. Oh, really? Fine then. Yeah, I got a big folder full of D&D stuff. Don't mind me. The Compendium of Forgotten Secrets is a homebrew thing, so this is... You'd have to check with your DM first. It's a homebrew compendium. I'll look at it again one day. I bought the full thing. It was like £12 as a PDF. It's like 20 quid as a physical book, but I didn't have anywhere to put the physical book, so... Oh well. In it, it's basically Warlock, the book. And these are a bunch of Warlock patrons. Each thing has its own description. Itself as a Warlock patron, itself as then a subclass. The one I want is called the Weaver of Lies, and the Spider-Touched Rogue archetype. I think I hit the pocket edition, which is cool. So, this is as close to a Spider-Man class as I've ever seen. So, when you choose this archetype with the level, discover the secret within Truth Falsehood, you gain proficiency in deception and with nets. Why nets? Well, you can weave webs from your fingertips at will, crafting a false face from non-magical spider silk. This acts as a disguise kit you have proficiency in. Additionally, you can use your bonus action to weave your webbing into a sticky 50-foot silk rope with adhesive grapple or net. The net has a range of 15-30 feet and has additional hit points equal to your rogue level.